Hello everyone and welcome to Museum Storytime. The objects in our collections and the people connected with them have had fascinating lives, and this is our chance to tell you their stories. My name's Ailey and I'm going to be your host. Today we're going to be finding out a little bit more about Willa Muir. Who was she? Willa was born in 1890 in Montrose in Angus. She was one of St Andrews' early female students, graduating with a first-class honours in classics in 1911. She went on to have a successful career as a translator and a novelist, and has been described as arguably Scotland's leading feminist intellectual. Language played a really important part in her life growing up. Her parents were both from the Shetland Islands, and they spoke the Shetland dialect of the Scots language at home. Muir claimed that this was what led to her skill in languages. She claimed to be trilingual, speaking Shetlandic at home, Scots in the playground, and Scottish English in classes. She was an incredibly talented pupil and won a scholarship to Montrose Academy, where she studied things like Latin and science and Greek and French. She then got another bursary, which brought her to the University of St Andrews. She also crammed lots into the extracurricular side of her degree. She was a big part of the Women's Debating Society, and she was on the editorial committee of the university magazine, which was called College Echoes. She then went on to teach classics at the University of St Andrews for a while, due to the outbreak of war and the loss of male lecturers. She then went on to pursue further study in psychology in London. Her own career was on an upward trajectory when she met and married the Orkney-born writer Edwin Muir in 1919. They spent a lot of time in Europe in the 1920s, which allowed them to really hone their language skills. A period of speaking and learning German really set the couple up for their future work in translation. They worked together on producing translations of the novels of many writers, but the most famous being that of Franz Kafka, although she was arguably a more talented translator than he was. When translating the words of Kafka, she explained their process. We divided the book in two. Edwin translated one half and I the other. Then we went over each other's translations with a fine tooth comb. A comment in her journal of August 1953, however, shows how frustrated she was when she didn't receive sufficient credit for her work. She says, "I am a better translator than Edwin is. The whole current of patriarchal society is set against this fact, however, and it sweeps it into oblivion, simply because I did not insist on shouting aloud. Most of the translation, especially Kafka, has been done by me. Edwin only helped. And every time Edwin was referred to as the translator, I was too proud to say anything. I'm left without a shred of literary reputation, and I'm ashamed of the fact that I feel it as a grievance. I seem to have nothing to build on, except that I am Edwin's wife, and he still loves me. That is much. It is more in a sense than I deserve. And I know too how destructive ambition is, and how it deforms what one might create, and yet, I want to be acknowledged." In 1925, Willa Muir wrote Women, an Inquiry, an edition of which will be displayed at the Wardlaw Museum when we open. It shows the reader her early analysis of women's unequal place in society. Kirsty Allen begins her introduction to Imagined Selves, which is an edited collection of Muir's 2 novels and 3 cultural essays, by explaining, in light of modern feminist thinking, it seems sadly dated and misguided, and that the work is an unconscious endorsement of the patriarchal system which had kept women in the home, and in the submissive position against which Muir constantly rebelled. However, The work does mark a significant contribution to the history of Scottish feminism and was really only the beginning of Muir's contribution towards fighting for gender equality. Passages from Women and Inquiry read, "Every great man has been inspired by some woman. The hand that rocks the cradle indisputably rules the world. A woman was the first cause of original sin, but a woman was the mother of God. What does this mean? Half of the picture is tinged with vague contempt, and the other half with vague reverence. Apparently, the average man sees women alternately as an inferior being and as an angel." And another one reads, "Even today, especially in politics, men find it difficult to rid themselves of the uneasy suspicion that women are dangerous." As historian William Knox has said, it would be difficult to think of any other woman in the last century who has made a greater contribution to feminist theory in Scotland than Willa. She carved out her own career as a writer. Her novels Imagined Corners and Mrs. Ritchie are important in helping the reader to explore what barriers women face in their lives. She also wrote essays such as Women in Scotland, which explored what opportunities were open to women who lived in Scotland at the time. We hope that today on Museum Storytime you've enjoyed learning about one of our dangerous women. See you next time. Bye.